So what happened then was you wrote a book, and this book is called The Link. I don't know if it's still available or not. But
still available after all these years.
Okay. And this book, you got a publishing deal, obviously. The book came out, and your first promotion was a television interview with David Frost, who was quite a famous interviewer. And you were, what, 19 years old?
I was just 19, and I'd been warned, you must be mad going onto that show because he eats politicians alive. But David gave me the entire show that he had. Normally he would have had 2 or 3 guests.
So he gave like 45 minutes.
He gave me 45 minutes straight off, and that's, from that point on I never looked back.
And so anyway, you talk about The Link, you talk about your story to date at that point and what happened. And then you went on a whole tour, didn't you? A world tour promoting the book.
Well, life after that just became completely crazy, and I suppose looking back on it now, it's a bit like nowadays, suddenly having a hit record at 19 and having this record that's struck absolutely worldwide, and everybody wants a piece of you. And I think the media now is a lot more aggressive and a lot more vicious than it was in 1974, but nothing prepares you for that kind of maelstrom of being thrown in at the deep end. And I spent the next 2.5 years doing nothing more than going all over the world to virtually every country promoting The Link. And increasingly I just felt like a performing monkey. I thought there's got to be more to life than spending my time in television studios, and everybody wanted me to do something, to demonstrate something.
Yes.
And nobody ever said, you seem to have a remarkable ability or gift. Is there something positive that you've thought of doing with it? Everybody wanted me to try and break something or to affect a piece of electrical equipment on the other side of the room. Anyhow, to cut a very long story short, after about 2.5 years of that, I got very, very disillusioned with it. And I really thought, this is not what I want in my life. But I knew that I wanted something, and I knew that whatever I'd experienced was not going to go away. It was there with me for the rest of my life. Probably because of my age, and I'd got friends at school who got older brothers, I came in on the tail end of the hippie movement. And of course in those days everybody used to go out to India to find a guru or a swami, and they would sit cross-legged at the feet of this person, be given guidance and told what to do. So I took myself off to India for 5 weeks, and travelled all around looking for a wise man or a guru. Never found one. And in my more cynical moments, I thought they were probably all in air-conditioned chalets in Switzerland. But I realised later this was the way that it was supposed to be, because in the last week that I was there, I decided to go up into the foothills of the Himalayas. I'd got a car with a driver, and we started driving. And ultimately, we ended up 12,000 feet up in the mountains in a place called Narkanda, which was as far as you could get on a road. I stayed there that night in a guest house, and the scenery was just mind-blowing. At that point, all that separates India from China are the sort of mountains of Tibet. I decided to get up very early the next morning, simply because I wanted to take one of those rather arty Californian-type photographs of the sun rising from behind the mountains on the Chinese side. I'd got a very expensive camera. I set it up on my tripod, ready to take photographs. I never took a photograph, and to this day I still don't really know what happened, but it changed my life forever. Because as I sat there watching the sun come up, suddenly I had what I can now best describe as a transcendent experience. I was totally unprepared for it, but suddenly I felt as if I was a part of the mountains, they were a part of me. I was the sky was me. I was part of the clouds, they were part of me. I was part of the stones and the vegetation and the trees. It was the most extraordinary sensation of complete stillness and utter oneness. And I felt something all around me, which, and I'm not a religious person, I can best describe as feeling God all around me. Whatever that was, whether you want to call it God, Great Spirit, whatever, I used to call it a presence with a capital P. It urged me to do 2 things. First of all, only to do those things in life which I wanted to do, regardless of what other people wanted me to do for their own reasons or motives, whether they were publishers, agents, newspapers, TV stations or whatever. And secondly, to follow only those paths which would lead to healing. And that was very strange for me, because I was 21, I didn't know anything about healing. But even as that sort of, it wasn't really a message, it was just a knowing came through, I felt whatever was meant by healing wasn't just related to people. It was something far broader than that. I came back from India and I realised that, first of all, I'd found the answer I'd gone there looking for, and secondly, being the kind of personality that I am, and always challenging everything, especially at that age, if any guru or swami seated cross-legged on the ground had told me exactly the same thing, I would never have listened. I had to find that answer for myself, within myself. And that, to this day, is why I'm still a little bit sort of wary of people that establish themselves or get established as gurus, because I don't think the answer is in someone else. All the answers we search for are within. All somebody else can do is to act as a guide or a signpost for you, for your own roadmap.
Yeah, and as you experienced in one level, there isn't a without and within.
No,
there's all this
everything is exactly the same. Everything is connected
it's
together.
all one, connected, whatever. Yeah.
So that was really the start of my healing work.
Yeah. And then I think on a practical note, what happened was, because this time you'd been promoting the link, and it actually had sold, I think, 1 million copies, which is
unbelievable.
A million copies of a book. It's just fantastic. It's about your story.
I know, for a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Now, what happened was I'd been doing quite a lot of research work with scientists in Canada, in Europe, but all of the work that I was doing with them seemed to me to be useless. People wanted me to change the voltage in a piece of electrical equipment on the other side of the room, wipe out a computer program, whatever. So when I came back from India, I was scheduled for a long line of experiments at the University of California. And I said, look, guys, something's happened to me. I've had the most extraordinary experience. I'm still really interested in working with you as a subject because I'm genuinely interested myself in finding out what makes these things happen and what I can do. But I'm now only prepared to get involved in research which might potentially, if it's successful, have some relevance or meaning or benefit or application to help other people. So that was where then I started, over a period of, on and off I might add, a period of 5 years, a whole long run of tests in this country and in America, where it was my job to influence in a laboratory, in plastic flasks or in test tubes, enzymes, mould samples, blood cells, cancer cells, to see whether I could influence somebody else's brainwave patterns at a distance, that sort of thing. So that was my introduction to healing. It was in a laboratory.